What happens when a CEO walks into his own flower shop, disguised as a trainee, and overhears a manager tear down a teenage employee in front of everyone? Miles Hartley stood in the back of store number 6, a small flower shop tucked between a laundromat and a donut place, wearing khakis, a plain forest green polo, and a ball cap pulled low. His beard was grayer than usual, and the glasses helped hide his face. He looked nothing like the man who signed the paychecks. He'd owned the chain for 6 years now, ever since buying it from a retiring couple who'd built it from scratch. It had felt personal, something sweet and local, tied into weddings, birthdays, even funerals. 11 shops total. And lately, complaints had started stacking up on his desk. Not about the flowers, but about how people were being treated, customers and staff. But store 6, no direct complaints, just whispers, low staff morale, high turnover. Could be better, said his district manager. That was enough to get Miles out of his office and into a fake training shift. None of the workers knew him. Most had never met him. He rarely did in-person visits, especially in disguise. The managers only knew him from emails and the occasional video call. He made sure of that. When he did these drop-ins, he used a different last name, fake resume, and the district manager never tipped off the staff. "Hey, new guy." A sharp voice cut through the smell of roses and eucalyptus. A woman in her late 30s, hair pulled into a tight bun, walked toward him with a clipboard. "I'm Whitney Owen, store manager. Let's go, you'll shadow today. Don't touch anything unless I say." Miles nodded. "Got it." She pointed toward a tall girl arranging carnations at the front. "That's Harper, 16. She's part-time, so don't ask her anything serious." Miles raised a brow. "Why not?" Whitney didn't answer. She just turned and walked off. The shop was small but busy. Orders came in constantly, walk-ins, phone calls, online pickups. 2 other employees worked the floor. A stocky guy named Leo who handled deliveries, and an older woman named Trina who barely looked up from the register. Miles followed Harper's lead. She was thoughtful, quiet, and clearly knew how to handle flowers. She explained how to strip rose thorns cleanly and how to balance a bouquet. "You've got a good eye," Miles said. She smiled. "Thanks. I just like making things look nice for people." That stuck with him. Later that afternoon, a woman with 2 toddlers came in for a last-minute birthday bouquet. Harper bounced over to help. "Do you want to match her dress?" Harper asked, pointing to the little girl in pink. The mom lit up. "That'd be perfect." While Harper built the bouquet, the little girl handed her a blue daisy. "This one's for you." Harper giggled. "I'll keep it right here," she said, tucking it behind her ear. Miles saw it. That moment. The kind of thing you couldn't fake, but Whitney noticed too. She walked over fast, arms crossed. "Harper, stop chatting. We're not here to play flower princess." Harper froze, smile gone. I was just helping." Whitney cut her off. "This isn't daycare. You're not here to entertain toddlers. Focus." The mom looked uncomfortable. She shifted her kids and stepped back. "Excuse me," Miles said carefully, stepping forward. She was helping. "That customer looked happy." Whitney turned slowly. "I don't think I asked you, trainee. Maybe don't get ahead of yourself on your first day." Miles bit the inside of his cheek. He wasn't ready to reveal himself, not yet, but his fists clenched. Harper looked down at her shoes. Leo walked by with a delivery and muttered under his breath, "Same old Whitney." That night, Miles sat in his hotel room staring at the ceiling. He'd seen enough to know there was a problem, but not enough to act yet. He needed to go back the next day, see how deep it really went. But that moment, Harper's face when she got shut down in front of a customer, that stuck with him. It wasn't just rude, it was mean. And it wasn't going to sit right. The next morning, Miles arrived 15 minutes before opening. A slight drizzle tapped against the storefront glass as he stood unlocking the door with the spare key Whitney had tossed him the day before, without a word. She hadn't scheduled him to open, but he wanted to see how the shop ran before the lights and music came on. Inside, the floor was still littered with bits of leaves and broken stems from the evening rush. The cooler hummed steadily in the back. He flipped on the lights and began clearing the counter. noting the dried petals stuck to the register keyboard and a bucket of browning lilies tucked behind the prep table. At 7 sharp, Trina walked in, tugging her coat tight. She looked surprised to see the trainee already inside. "You're early," she said, hanging her purse on the hook behind the counter. "Figured I'd help open," Miles replied, wiping down the glass display case. "Do you usually do it alone?" Trina shrugged. "Only on Wednesdays and Fridays." "Whitney says it's not worth the payroll to bring in 2 people before 8. Miles didn't respond. He just nodded and kept working. A few minutes later, Harper entered, rainwater dripping from her sleeves. "There's no umbrella stand," she said quietly, shaking out her arms near the back sink. "You're soaked." "I missed the bus," she murmured, avoiding eye contact. "Didn't want to be late again." Trina gave a small sigh and handed her a towel from under the counter. "Again?" Miles asked. Harper hesitated, wiping her arms. "It happened once, a couple weeks ago. My geometry final ran late. Whitney made me clock out for the day." Miles kept his face neutral. "Even though you showed up," she said. "If I wasn't here on time, I wasn't here at all." Trina didn't look up, but her hands slowed on the receipt printer. By 9, the shop was fully open and filling with orders. A retirement arrangement, 2 birthday deliveries, and a sympathy wreath all needed prepping before noon. Whitney arrived just before 10, iced coffee in hand, sunglasses still on indoors. Without greeting anyone, she walked to the back, dropped her bag, and began flipping through the delivery schedule. "Leo's out today. Car trouble," she said aloud, not directing it to anyone in particular. Miles glanced up. "Who's covering his deliveries?" Whitney didn't answer. She tapped her pen against the clipboard. "Someone'll figure it out." Harper looked worried. "We've got 6 orders needing delivery by 1. "That's not my problem," Whitney said, walking into the front. "We're not Amazon." Miles felt a slow, rising tension in the room. No one responded. No one pushed back. This was normal here. At 11:30, a man in a dark suit walked in. He looked rushed, glancing at his watch as he approached the counter. "I called about an hour ago," he said. "The condolence bouquet for the Lassiter service?" Harper stepped forward. "Yes, sir." "I finished it. It's ready, but the driver's out today." "Then who's delivering it?" There was a long pause. Whitney stepped out from the back, sipping her coffee. "If you were in that much of a rush, you should have come earlier." The man stared at her. "It's a funeral. I'm heading there now." "Do you expect me to deliver it myself?" Whitney didn't blink. "That's one option." Miles stepped forward. "I can take it." Whitney turned sharply. "What? I'll deliver it. I've got a car." The man looked at Miles, then at Harper. "Thank you," he said, voice tight. Miles nodded and walked to the back to get the arrangement. Whitney followed. "You don't take orders from customers." "I'm not," Miles said evenly. "I'm making sure a family gets the flowers they paid for." Whitney crossed her arms. "You're not even trained." "It's not a complicated task," he said, lifting the bouquet carefully into a delivery box. She narrowed her eyes. "If anything happens to that arrangement, it's on you." Miles didn't reply. He left. The funeral home was only 10 minutes away. The man accepted the flowers silently, gave a nod of appreciation, and hurried inside. Miles sat in his car for a long moment before heading back. When he returned, the shop was quiet. The lunch rush had come and gone. Harper was scrubbing buckets in the back while Trina balanced receipts at the counter. Whitney wasn't in sight. Harper looked up as Miles stepped in. "She left. Said she had a dentist appointment. During peak hours." "She does that sometimes," Harper said, drying her hands. "Leaves one of us in charge." "Who's in charge now?" She gave a small shrug. "Guess it's you." By early afternoon, a young man walked in with a clipboard and a green apron. He looked around uncertainly. "I'm supposed to start today. Part-time driver." Miles stepped forward. "You're Owen." "Yeah, I had an interview last week, but no one called to confirm." "Come in. You're here now." Trina looked relieved. "Thank goodness, we're drowning." Miles found a spare apron and gave Owen a quick rundown of the delivery schedule. Harper helped load the van. Within minutes, Owen was off with 2 orders. As the afternoon wore on, Miles noticed something strange. The back room hadn't been stocked in days. The ribbon bin was nearly empty. The floral foam crates were down to scraps. When he asked Trina about it, she sighed. We submit inventory requests every week. They don't always get fulfilled. Who approves them? Whitney. Miles didn't ask anything else. He just made a mental note. At 4:30, Harper returned from the front, pale and biting her lip. There's a woman asking for the manager. Miles stepped out and saw a customer holding a wilting bouquet of tulips. I bought these yesterday, she said, voice tight. They already look half dead. I'm sorry to hear that. Do you have the receipt? She handed it over. I can exchange these, Miles said. You want the same flowers or something else? The woman looked surprised. You can do that, of course. As he walked to the cooler, Harper whispered, Whitney never lets us do exchanges. She says it's policy. Miles handed the woman a fresh bouquet. We want you to be happy with what you buy here. That's the standard. The customer left with a smile. After closing, Harper approached while he swept. Thanks for earlier. No problem, she hesitated. You're not really a trainee, are you? Miles looked up. What makes you say that? You listen. You don't yell. And you didn't flinch when Whitney talked like that. Most new people just freeze. He didn't answer, just kept sweeping, but something about the way she said it stayed with him. Too many people had frozen for too long. He'd seen enough. Tomorrow, he wouldn't be undercover. Miles didn't enter store 6 in khakis the next morning. He wore a navy button-down, slacks, and a name tag with his real name. The same man who'd quietly swept floors and delivered flowers 2 afternoons ago now walked in just after opening, calm and direct. Trina was behind the counter, counting singles into the till. She glanced up, then froze. Harper, near the window arranging sunflowers, turned slowly, her face puzzled. Miles nodded to both of them. Morning. Neither spoke. Whitney walked out from the back, still fastening an earring. She glanced at him, then at the others. We open in 10. Why's everyone standing around? Miles stepped forward. We need to talk now. Whitney blinked. Excuse me, in the back. Her face twitched. Who are you? He didn't answer in front of the others. Just walked past her into the prep room. She followed, arms stiff at her sides. The door swung shut behind them. Buckets of unopened lilies lined the far wall. The cooler buzzed low. Let me be clear, he said, his voice low but firm. I'm Miles Hartley. I own this company. And I've spent the last 2 days working here undercover. Whitney's mouth opened slightly. No words came out. I've seen enough to know this store has problems, and most of them start with how you treat people. Her voice finally returned, brittle and forced. I think you've misunderstood some things. I haven't. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. You dismiss staff concerns. You leave mid-shift without coverage. You ignore supply requests. You belittle employees in front of customers. And yesterday, you deliberately risked a late funeral delivery just to avoid assigning responsibility. Whitney laughed once, short and sharp. This is completely out of context. No, it isn't, he said. I was here, I saw it, every moment. She crossed her arms tightly. I've been running this store for over 2 years. Sales are solid. You can't argue with results. He didn't flinch. I'd rather lose 5% in sales than lose one more decent employee because of your behavior. She rolled her eyes. So this is about that girl? She's 16. She'll live. He didn't respond. She sighed. Look, I'm direct. I expect results. If that makes me the bad guy, you're done, he said. She blinked. You're no longer employed here. Hand me the store keys before you leave. She didn't move. You're firing me. I'm holding you accountable. Her eyes narrowed. This is a mistake. He held out his hand. After a long pause, she reached into her bag, pulled out the keychain, and dropped it into his palm. She didn't say anything else, just walked out the back door. He stayed in the prep room for a moment, letting the quiet settle. Then he stepped out. Trina and Harper were both behind the counter, pretending to sort receipts. The air was thick, unsure. Whitney's gone, Miles said evenly. Effective immediately, neither spoke. But Trina's hands stopped moving. I'll be here through the end of the week, he said. We'll be hiring a new manager, but until then, I'm running this store. Harper glanced down at the register. Is that allowed? He gave a soft half smile. It's my name on the lease. The bell at the door jingled. A man in his 60s entered, holding a small potted orchid. Miles nodded to Harper. "Go ahead." She stepped forward, shoulders still tense. "I bought this for my wife," the man said, "but it's losing color already." "I watered it like the tag said." Harper leaned in, inspecting the leaves. "Looks like root rot. Sometimes the soil traps moisture too long. We can swap it for a healthier one if you'd like." The man looked surprised. "Really? Of course," she said. "We'll even repot it for you." "I'd appreciate that." As she walked him to the back, Miles caught Trina watching him. "You're really here all week?" she asked. "I am." "Then you're gonna see how much she left undone." He nodded. "That's the plan." By noon, the inbox on the store computer had over 70 unread emails. Vendor requests. Missed supply confirmations. At least 4 messages from the regional florist distributor asking why recurring orders had been paused. He flagged the top 5, forwarded them to his office team, then called Owen, the part-time driver. "How far are you from the shop?" 10 minutes. "We've got a walk-in order and 2 online pickups. Think you can swing all 3 before 2? "Yeah." "I'll reroute." Next, he called the district manager. "Why didn't I hear about the turnover at store 6? He asked. "I sent a report last quarter." "I'm not talking about reports. I'm talking about the fact that 3 people quit in the last 6 weeks, and 2 more dropped their hours under Whitney's watch." There was a pause. "I thought she had it handled." "She didn't, and neither did you." "I'll visit in person this week." "No, I'm here now." "Just make sure HR handles the offboarding." He hung up. At 2, a woman named Cora walked in, holding a clipboard and frowning. "I'm from the high school program. We place juniors for part-time credit hours." Miles stood from behind the counter. "You're here about Harper." "She's overdue for a site check-in. I've sent 3 emails." "We didn't see them." She scanned the shop. "Is Whitney available?" "She no longer works here." Cora raised an eyebrow. "That might explain it." Miles nodded. "Let me show you around." He walked her to the back, showing the prep space, the calendar of assigned shifts, and a sample of Harper's bouquet work. Cora nodded. "This all looks solid. Harper's one of our best students, quiet but sharp." She mentioned wanting to apply for a horticulture scholarship next year. He paused. "No one said anything to me about that." "She would have needed a letter from her supervisor. Applications due Friday." "I'll take care of it." Cora smiled. "Good. She's earned it." After she left, Miles stepped into the prep area where Harper was trimming hydrangeas. "You want to study horticulture?" he asked. She blinked, caught off guard. "Yeah, I mean. I didn't think anyone here would care." "Cora says you need a letter." "I was going to ask last week, but you'll have it by tomorrow." She looked like she wanted to say more, but just nodded and returned to her work. By 5, the shop had settled into a calm rhythm. Trina handled evening closeout. Harper processed tomorrow's orders. Owen had returned for a final round of deliveries. Miles sat at the front desk, typing the scholarship letter. When he finished, he printed it and handed it to Harper. "You can read it if you want, or not. But give it to your school by Friday." She stared at the envelope, then looked up at him. "Thank you." He gave a small nod. As they locked up, Trina lingered by the door. "You're not like most owners," she said. "Why do you say that? You showed up." Outside, the street was quiet. A few cars passed. The donut shop next door had just flipped its sign to closed. Miles watched Harper step into her dad's old sedan, envelope still in hand. Then he looked back at the darkened windows of the flower shop. Tomorrow, the hard work would begin. Not just replacing a manager, but rebuilding a store's culture. One decision at a time. Friday morning started with a quiet hum. The shop lights blinked on one by one, casting a soft glow over the buckets of fresh-cut blooms. Miles unlocked the front door before anyone arrived, stepped behind the counter, and laid out the updated schedule himself. He didn't need to say it aloud. Everyone working that day had already figured out the rhythm was different now. Harper arrived first. She came in wearing her school lanyard and holding a paper slip. "My counselor signed off on the letter," she said. She said it was the strongest one she's ever submitted for a student job placement. Miles leaned back slightly, arms crossed. "She's probably seen a lot of letters." Harper nodded. Around 200 a year. He motioned to the clipboard on the counter. You're scheduled until 2 today. I want you to take an hour off before that, though. Use it to finish your application. You can sit in the break room. I already submitted it, he paused. When? Early this morning. I couldn't wait. He gave a small nod, then turned toward the back. Trina's out today, her son's graduation. We've got support coming in from store 4 just for today. Harper tilted her head. Someone's coming from another shop, she volunteered when I explained the situation. Said she's seen stores go sideways before and didn't want this one to lose its footing. An older woman named Grace arrived an hour later. She wore a faded denim apron covered in embroidery thread and moved like someone who'd done this for decades. She barely introduced herself before diving in restocking the ribbon station, labeling the cooler shelves, and printing new pricing tags for the succulents by the window. Your signage was out of date by 3 months, she said to Miles, not accusing, just factual. I believe it. Miles used the lull to call corporate and request a full audit of the other locations. He didn't want store 6 to be the only one getting attention just because it was where he happened to show up. He asked for anonymous staff feedback collection to be rolled out across the board, real feedback, straight from the floor. By late morning, the shop was steady but not rushed. Owen had arrived early and cleared out the first delivery block without issue. Miles assigned him a few light in-store tasks between routes, nothing heavy, just enough to keep him connected to the team. Harper was in back trimming filler greens when Grace walked by, paused, and glanced at her arrangement. You've got balance, Grace said. That's not common. Most folks your age overfill everything. They try to impress with volume. Harper didn't look up. I just try to make them feel like something someone would want to receive. Grace tapped the edge of the vase. You'll go far if you keep that mindset. A customer entered shortly after noon, a woman in her 50s holding a photo in one hand and a stack of old cards in the other. I'm looking to recreate something, she said, laying the picture on the counter. My mother passed 5 years ago. We used to buy her flowers from here every spring. This was her favorite. Miles stepped forward. We can help with that. She handed over the cards, some handwritten, some printed, and took a breath. I just want it to feel like the ones she used to get. It's the first spring I've felt ready to do it again. Harper came to the counter quietly and studied the photo. I know those, alstroemeria, pale pink ranunculus, and lemon leaf filler. The woman blinked. You know that from the picture? I remember the arrangement. It was for a woman named Ruth, right? Her voice caught. That's my mother. I helped prep those, Harper said. I was 15 then. I wasn't allowed to handle customer orders yet, but I watched the florists make them. They always used a soft wrap, no cellophane. The woman's eyes welled. You remember that? Harper nodded. We can make it exact, if you want. The woman gripped the edge of the counter, then slowly let go. Yes, I'd like that very much. Miles didn't interrupt. He just watched Harper walk back to the prep area, pull the exact blooms, and begin building the arrangement without a single wasted motion. When the bouquet was finished and handed over, the woman stood for a moment at the door before leaving. She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. By 2, Harper's shift wrapped. She wiped down her workstation, tied off the waste bag, and grabbed her backpack. Miles stepped out from the office. Before you go, she turned. I made a call to the local horticulture program, the one you're applying to. They're hosting a spring showcase next month. I got you a spot on their student preview list. Her eyes widened. How? Owners have some pull. I used mine. I don't even have a portfolio yet. You will. Grace said she'd help you put one together. Grace, across the room, gave a quick nod without looking up. Harper didn't say anything for a long moment. Then she stepped forward and offered a hand. Thank you, for not just fixing things up front, but for seeing people. He shook her hand. You made that easy. After she left, Miles returned to the back room. He reviewed the staff files Whitney had left behind. Several were incomplete. One, belonging to a former employee named Janelle, included a written warning for frequent attitude. Attached was a note in Whitney's handwriting. Doesn't smile enough, cold with customers. He stared at it for a while, then shredded it. Later that afternoon, the district manager arrived. He looked uneasy, carrying a folder and a cup of coffee. He started with small talk. Miles didn't entertain it. "I want you to review every store's personnel records by end of month," Miles said. "Spot check for any red flags, subjective write-ups, vague warnings. Any sign that someone's job was at risk for the wrong reasons." The manager shifted. "That's over 200 employees. Start with the ones who resigned in the last 6 months, work backwards." The manager gave a slow nod. "And if we find issues, you bring them to me." After he left, a young man stepped in the door wearing a navy polo and holding a resume. He looked nervous. "I saw the listing online. For a part-time opener," Miles gestured him in. "You worked in flowers before?" "No, sir, grocery store." "I stocked produce, but I'm good with early mornings." Miles looked him over. "You'll need to train with Grace tomorrow. She's strict." "I can handle that." "Then you're hired." He shook the young man's hand and handed him a blank schedule form. "Write down your best hours. We'll work from there." By closing time, the shop was clean and calm. The last pickup had been made. The cooler inventory was updated. Grace packed up her bag and paused by the register. "You've got a good foundation here," she said. "It just needed light." He nodded. "You think it'll hold? If you keep showing up, it will." She stepped out into the fading daylight without another word. Miles stayed behind. He turned off the lights one by one the way he had earlier that week before anyone knew who he was. The space felt different now, not perfect, but honest. He stood by the front window for a while, watching the street. A group of teenagers passed by, laughing. One of them pointed at the window display. Harper's bouquet sat in the center, under soft spotlight. He didn't move until they were gone. Then he locked the door quietly behind him and walked into the evening.